Hi, I'm Evan,
And I'm Nolan.
and we read A Fault in Our Stars by John Green. And the purpose of this video is to show to you how great of a book this was and how you really need to give it a read. So we're going to start off by giving you a brief summary of the book.
So we start out, and main character is Hazel Grace. She is a teenage girl, but she's battling cancer and has very bad lungs. At the start of the book, she's kind of sad and doesn't want to do much, and her mom has to force her to go to this support group where she ends up meeting this boy that she's attracted to named Augustus Waters, and they end up really hitting it off. And they're talking after after the group meeting in the parking lot, and end up eventually hanging out that night. And that's when things started to take off.
And Hazel tells Augustus that her favorite book is Imperial Affliction. And so Augustus somehow gets in contact with the author, and then so Hazel
Peter Van Houten.
Yes. And Hazel emails Peter Van Houten, and he actually contacts back and has them both come to Amsterdam to have a meeting with him.
So, yeah, basically, they end up going to Amsterdam, and they are accompanied by Hazel's mom because she doesn't really trust them to go alone. And while in Amsterdam, a couple interesting things happen that are key contributors to the book, and that exemplified some of the themes that we have ready to go. And while in Amsterdam, they meet Van Houten, and it's not what they expected to be.
They're not impressed.
He is a mean drunk, and he just is nothing what they expected. So, obviously very disappointed. Van Houten's assistant, not really sure how to say his name. I believe Lidwidge, takes him around the city, giving him a tour and whatnot. They go to Anne Frank's house, and while at Anne Frank's house, you see Augustus and Hazel's relationship jump to the next level, and they kiss. And later later on in the trip, they are back at the hotel, and things get a little steamier. And as you know what happens. So after uh, after that, Augustus drops an absolute bombshell and tells Hazel that
his cancer has returned,
and it's worse than ever,
and he's in bad shape.
And so upon their return to Indianapolis, things aren't getting much better. Hazel and Augustus had written each other eulogies, and the book ends with, Augustus ends up passing, and at the funeral, Van Houten shows up out of nowhere. It turns out that Van Houten had also lost a daughter to cancer. So that's kind of where he finds his issues. So, also at the funeral, that's all I got there. Yeah, Evan, you have anything?
It's a great read.
Well, I'm not done. At the end, the book ends with Hazel reading this letter left from Augustus, and it was given to her, I believe, by Van Houten's assistant. And the letter, she reads it, and at the end, um, the last line, as I can read 1 second. What else? She is so beautiful. You don't get tired of looking at her. You never worry if she is smarter than you. You know she is. She is funny without ever being mean. I love her. I'm so lucky to love her. Ben Houghton. You don't get to choose if you get hurt in this world, old man. But you do have some say in who hurts you. I like my choices. I hope she likes hers. I do, Augustus. I do. So that's where the book ends. And now we can talk about some of our themes. So
one of our themes was love,
and
we found some
love
quotes.
expands, and there's a lot of different examples and moments with love between different people and whatnot in the book. But the main one is the love between Augustus and Hazel.
Yes, and one of the quotes we found was when Augustus first told Hazel that he loves her. And he says, "I'm in love with you," he said quietly. "Augustus," I said. "I am," he said. He was staring at me, and I could see the corners of his eyes crinkling. "I'm in love with you, and I'm not in the business of denying myself the simple pleasure of saying true things. I'm in love with you, and I know that love is just a shout into the void, and that oblivion is inevitable, and that we're all doomed, and that there will come a day when all our labor has been returned to dust, and I know the sun will swallow the only earth will ever have, and I am in love with you." So Augustus obviously has lots of feelings for Hazel.
Um, so here's another example. Um, oh, I wouldn't mind Hazel Grace. This is Augustus speaking. I wouldn't mind Hazel Grace. It would be a privilege to have my heart broken by you. So obviously, he has given her his heart, and does he, by his actions in the book, um, he does a lot of things that he didn't have to, that he probably only would have done if he loved her, like being in contact with Ben Houghton and letting her meet her idol.
Another one that we found was, this is Hazel talking. "Some people don't understand the promises they're making when they make them," I said. "Right, of course, but you keep the promises anyway. That's what love is. Love is keeping the promise anyway."
So those were some quotes that we found. Those are some quotes that we found exemplified love throughout the book. Um, and so, um, love was a major theme in this book because it was important in helping Hazel find herself. It made her happy. She was very sad at the beginning of the book, and her mother forced her to go to that support group, and it's probably the best thing that happened to her because um,
She would have never found Augustus.
it was the happiest times of her life while he was there. So, and it says it was an odd twist. That ending was uh, kind of sad to make her go through that. So, our next theme was kind of together, life and mortality, because they kind of go together very well. And I like to think of it throughout the book as like a shot clock in basketball, and it's ticking, and Hazel knows it, and Augustus knows it. So time is vital, and they make the most of their time together throughout the book. Um,
Especially when they find out Augustus's cancer has returned.
and
They knew it was a very short time.
so yeah, and while in Amsterdam, even they know that they aren't going to have much more time. So in Amsterdam, you really see their love for each other. And in the letter in a letter to Augustus from Van Houten, I found kind of a funny quote, and I'll read that real quick. In Van Houten's letter to Augustus, we're on the topic of old Will's insufficiencies. Your writing about young Hazel reminds me of the Bard's 55th sonnet, which of course begins, "Not a marble nor the glided monuments of princes shall outlive this powerful rhyme, but you shall shine. more bright in these contents than unswept stone, be smeared with sluttish time. Off topic, but what a slut time is. She screws everybody. So again, saying that Hazel and Augustus' lives are being robbed by a cancer, and the time is short. So what else? When they were arguing at the beginning of the book between Hazel and her mother about the support group, her mom said, you're going to the support group, and Hazel's upset and complaining and moaning, and her mom says, you deserve a life. And I believe that quote is very important because the support group ended up giving her a life. Evan?
It's an absolutely wonderful read.
It's been a blast, Miss Graham. I've had a great year in sci-fi
awesome
and contemporary lit, and we are.
Thank you for everything.
Thank you. We're out. So.